as we have seen, the first piece of jigsaw puzzle is all about her grandfather. Next comes the second piece of jigsaw puzzle. In this piece, she describes about the journey by boat. So as it is clear in the background slide, that these the all the some of the illegal migrants from Vietnam, they traveled by boat, and hence they were described as boat people. So how does this journey by boat, how does this journey echo the various emotions and the various experience, how does it stir various experiences within the mind of Tan Lee in her later life? I quote, "Life has distilled itself into one task." This is how she remembers about the escape of her family members from Vietnam, and which really marked a new life in Australia. So I, even at the time of journey, the family members, they never felt that they could safely reach the shores of Australia. So at that time, there was only one thing left before them, that is somehow to escape from Vietnam. And her family finally, they escaped from the shores of Vietnam. But still, they are not sure whether they could reach safely in the land of Australia, because the risk, um, there is a pretty risk involved in the boat journey, from different phases, and the greatest fear that the people come across include pirates. The pirates are the sea robbers, who can attack the people in between their journey. And the second thing they feared is the rape, especially the women passengers. They are not at all safe in traveling. While traveling, they are being threatened with by rape, and finally death. Some people, they lost their lives on the course of the boat journey. So the boat people is a term referred to the immigrants from Vietnam, to who travel to the other countries. So this is how her grandmother used to tell Tan Lee as she grows old. Yes, they all carried, most of the women passengers, they used to carry along with them a bottle of poison, and this is considered to be as a savior, because as soon as they realized that they could not escape from the rape attempts, the women have mutually planned to drink the bottle of poison. So this poison is a savior to all the women passengers. So what are the different memories of boat that comes to Tanley's mind? The steady beat of engine, the vast horizon, um, the sea touching the sky, or the sky touching the sea. Then some of the male passengers, they are very friendly to the women passengers. And on she also remembers the failure of engine for around 6 hours, and the death of a young man who worked at the oil rig of the Malaysian coast. So the memories of both altogether is a mixture of more painful and negative memories. They never felt that they could reach safely the shores of Australia, because they have to overcome the three greatest obstacles: pirates, rape, and death. And the savior that was always with them was the bottle of poison. So whether but ultimately God favored them, some of the passengers, not everyone, but the boat, especially the boat in which Tanley's family members traveled, they could endure all the obstacles, they could overcome, they could survive, and that made Tanley and her family to settle in Footscray, the community of Vietnamese people in Australia. Now, moving on to the third piece of jigsaw puzzle, it is her life in Australia. This is the third piece of jigsaw puzzle, where she particularly emphasizes about her mother. So the first piece of jigsaw puzzle was about the her grandfather, and the second piece of jigsaw puzzle was about the journey by boat, and in the third piece of jigsaw puzzle was her immigrant life in Australia with a special focus on her mother. Her mother's name was Mai. So she says that as soon as they reached uh, from foods reached the refugee camp, they settled around they stayed around 3 months at the refugee camp, and afterwards they moved on to Footscray, the settlement place of immigrants, and this marked the beginning of a new life. So from refugee camp to Footscray, or a place in Melbourne. So this is how she remembers her early days in Australia. And which are the various problems being faced by Chandy and her family members as soon as they shifted to Footscray? No sense of entitlement. Yes, so all the immigrants, not only Tanley's family members, all the immigrants who have reached Australia, they experience that they are not having any kind of entitlement or ownership, neither to land nor to any of the things. They feel like total outsiders or strangers. No sense of entitlement is the phrase used by Chanley. Then snippets of halting English. Yes, language becomes a very a terrible and a troubling barrier to the immigrants, because their native language was quite different, Vietnamese, and these people suddenly they could not communicate to the natives in Vietnam using Vietnamese language. So they started to they started to use English, and it's just like the snippets or the parts of halting English. Their English language and pronunciation was not at all smooth and comfortable. So this is how she describes the snippets of halting English um, to describe their language barrier. But Mai is her mother, Tanley's mother, but she is really a hardworking woman. She managed multiple jobs at the same times. She worked in the farms, then she went to attend the car assembly line, then for around 6 hours she worked continuously in double shifts. And apart from that, she studied English. She went for a beautician course. Then she studied information technology, and very soon she opened a computer store. So, but this doesn't mean that this have suddenly become rich. No, they strived a lot to manage to meet their ends. So uh, Stanley's mother was a highly inspirational figure as far as Stanley is concerned. So she managed different jobs to meet the family needs, and she took extra care to send her two daughters. One is Stanley and her younger sister in to attend English and Max tuition. And regarding the life, yes, their life has been oscillated by poverty. There are various instances that Tandy shares with the readers, which clearly indicates the instances of poverty. She remembers how her mother buys second-hand clothes, because we need not have to pay a fair price for the second-hand clothes. Then how they were provided with only two pair of stockings. Then how the three people, mother, Chanley and her younger sister, they shared the same bed, and how their school uniforms were stitched down to ankle so that she need not have to change it during the next year. And but Andy supported her mother whenever her nightmares attacked and visited her during her sleep. This is something that we have to connect it with the second piece of jigsaw puzzle, that the journey by boat was a very troubling nightmare for Tandy. So This is something that we have to look into account, that how these people, how the memories can haunt the people even after years. So Tanley's mother is one such. So these are the nightmares really troubled Chanley's mother, and at that time, Chanley supported her mother with her best possible ways. And one instance of racial discrimination that they come across, the immigrants come across, especially through the graffiti. You know that graffitis are the paintings by wall paintings on the walls, and one such graffiti is titled as Asian Go Home. Yes, this is the intention of the natives. They never welcome Asians. They ask the Asians directly and indirectly to go back to their own native places. But there is always an alternate voice that gives that boost courage within the mind of Tandy and Tandy's family. I will bypass you. So this is very a motivational sentence. I will bypass you. Yes. So whatever be the troubling situations, there is an alternative way, and I will bypass you. So men could not make the transition in. Men could not make the change in Tanley's family because Tanley's father and grandfather were not there. She moved to Australia with the support of her mother and grandmother. And thus, the women play a very crucial role as far as Tanley's autobiographical story is concerned. And Tanley and her younger sister were described as troubled children caught between two worlds. The description not only applies to Tanley and her younger sister alone, it could be applied to any immigrant children. Yes, they are caught between the two worlds, the cultures and the traditions of the two worlds. One is the native world, and here in this context, we can say that one world is Vietnam and the other world is Australia. So where will the children can exactly be placed, whether in Vietnam or in Australia?